Alright guys, what's going on? I'm at a Trane XV20. Trane XV20. Oh, this is about 4 or 5 years old on this one. This is an issue we've had. We've put in about, I don't know, well over 200 of these things since they introduced them back into the market. I know they had an older XV model back in the 80s, 90s, somewhere in there. I wasn't in heating in there then, but then they kind of revamped everything and reintroduced the current, and they're already changing that now, but 7-8 years ago, I guess. This one, let me figure that's worn off. This one's from 2018, so this one's 5 years old, going on 5 anyway. So all of these that we've installed, there's been about 3 that I know of. This is one of them, maybe 4. Suddenly have intermittent issues with the reversing valve sticking, and not necessarily sticking, but not responding to a call for heating or cooling, so it runs in the opposite mode. It doesn't switch over. These reversing valves in this system work differently. Most systems, 24 volt systems, maintain a constant 24 volts on those valves when they're energized. These do not. Every time the thermostat calls for this system to run, it sends a pulse to that reversing valve, either 4 volts DC or 11 volts DC, and I'll try to show you that in a minute. For heating, and then 4 volts for cooling, and then in whatever mode you have it in, every time the thermostat calls, it sends that pulse. So that valve does not stay locked in a cooling or heating position. It energizes and signals that position on every call from the thermostat. It's DC voltage. I had a lady about 2 summers ago. She came home from being out of town about 3 days, and the candles in the house were bent down. They were melted. She was running air conditioning. It came home for a call for cooling. It didn't respond to that call on the reversing valve, and it was 9089. Her thermostat was pegged out when she got home. The candles were melted and hanging over. Trane told us when that particular problem happens, we need to update the drive, and I did that once, and there was another time I didn't do it, and the only thing that really fixed it was putting in a new solenoid, but they still tell us to update it, and I do like to try to update these when you get a chance. And that's what this little tool is right here. You see that? It's called a Mantis tool. They do not make these anymore. They can be updated, so if you're a Trane dealer and you have one of these, don't lose it, because you can't get them anymore, but you can get them updated with the current software, or otherwise you have to download it to a laptop and come hook your laptop up to this thing. We tried that yesterday and it didn't work. So we don't know if it was a problem with the laptop, the cable that we were using, because they give you one of those when you take the XV class for the purposes of downloading that. But that's the part number for that Mantis tool. But they, like I said, they do not make them anymore. But if you have one, if you're a Trane dealer, don't lose it. You can update the software on that tool, which is basically just a little circuit board here. So we're going to update this real quick, and then we're going to swap out this valve. So you'll connect it right there. You have to pull this unused data plug off, hook it up there. You have to cycle the power to the system, which we're going to do that real quick. It's like the neighbor's kids are out. Little nice area out here in the country. A lot of nice land and fairly quiet. And kind of enjoy being out in this area working from time to time. So we're going to wait for this thing to discharge. Just heard it click. It's clicking off. And then we're going to confirm that it's discharged with the meter. And when I get all this done, I'll show you how to do that, how to go in this system and test that reversing valve, test that the drive is sending the proper voltage for a call for cooling, call for heating in each one of those modes. But we're going to get the update put in first. The update takes about 12 minutes or so So I'm not going to obviously leave you hanging for 12 minutes staring at the side of this unit. So I'm going to show you how to hook that tool up and how to do the update, and then when it finishes, I'll bring you back online. So I'm going to go down here to these terminals real quick, confirm that we're discharging. So we're down to 4.7 volts DC. When this thing's energized and up, basically powered up, this drive's around 400 volts DC, so it can do some damage. So you want to make sure this thing's fully discharged. And so this Manus tool is basically this little board right there, and then you're going to take your little cable connector harness, plug it into one side of that board, and you're going to come up here and you're going to get this little pin off. It's just a little cover that you put on that. You don't want to lose that. And you're going to come up here and then you're going to plug that in, and there's a little light on this board that'll flash, and it comes with the instructions on it and how you do that. So we'll power it back up. It'll start taking the update. The thermostats are turned off. This house does have zoning, multiple thermostats. It's got the Trane zoning on it, so I've got all the zones turned off. So yellow light blinking, it's communicating, data's in progress. Takes about 10 or 12 minutes for it to do it. Once you get a solid light, you're finished with your update. If it runs into any problems, it'll give you some of these 2 faults, pause for 3 seconds, fault, and if you get one of these, it'll tell you what to do or what to check. To know why the update doesn't take, but I don't think we're going to have a problem. I hope we don't anyway. So anyway, we are going to put the power back on the unit. And now you're going to see a little light flashing on the bottom of that. Constant flash. It's letting us know the update is in progress. Once it goes solid, we'll be done. It takes about 10 minutes. So I will bring you back online in about 10 minutes, and we'll pick it up from there. All right guys, it's approximately 11 minutes later, and the update is complete. When the update is complete, the yellow light will be solid. You'll start to hear clicking, testing things. It'll crank this EV open and close, kind of go through a restart. It'll go into a soft lockout, and then it'll go back into standby mode. And obviously, disconnecting the little update device. We'll cycle the power. You want to wait for this thing to go blank. Soft lockout. It's gonna shut down here in about 10-15 more seconds, maybe, I don't know. You gotta wait to hear it click. Low voltage alert. That's because we've disconnected the power to the system, and then it's gonna shut off blank. We're gonna go back down here to the bottom. These are your 2 little test points here and right there under the bottom, where you're gonna check your DC voltage and confirm that it is discharged. And you can see we're at about 5 volts DC. I'll hook back up to this and show you guys how many it's gradually dropping. We're usually probably pretty good. It says wait 2 minutes, but when I get this thing powered back up, I'll go across that and show you how many volts of DC this system's producing. But while we have it off, we're going to go ahead and replace this. I did already go ahead and swap the harness out on it. And I'll show you a difference in that harness. The new one, the old one didn't have, and I'm guessing they have suspected that this thing gets affected by some kind of a voltage surge, because this new harness now comes with this little diode or resistor in here. This is something that's also on the low voltage harness here. You can see it right there for your common, your data, and your 24 volts. They've now added it to the one that goes back to the reversing valve. So I'm guessing they probably have determined that some of these issues, I'm sure we're not the only one, have been related to some kind of an electrical surge through this harness. And I think they would rather the harness be a problem, which that's on the common circuit that that little resistor's in. So for temporary use, you can cut it out and then wire nut it where this is at. You can cut this out and wire nut your common side leg back together temporarily until you can get a new harness. If that's the same as it is on the low voltage. I know on the low voltage harness it is. Rather than having to get a new one of these, because these things are hard to come by. We've been waiting a little while. You just heard that thing switch when I moved it. So anyway, that's all that is. We will get the new one, which is laying here. They make it a kind of difficult because this pipe runs right up the end of this thing. Trying to back this off, you have to kind of push this back a little bit to get enough clearance to get off there. So they definitely weren't thinking when they did that, but it's doable. Slide that back on. Got a little locking screw that goes in there. Get that started and snug that down. And just plug her back together. I like to run it behind these pipes, and then I'll zip tie it up out of the way so it's not gonna rub on anything. Pull that back forward, pull that back forward, then I'll come back over here and zip tie that back in there so it's not laying against any of these pipes and rubbing anything. So all right, let's put the power back on. Oh, hold on. You have to remove the little board. We wait for it to go blank again. Forgot to take that off. Definitely want to make sure you take that off or nothing's going to run. All right, that is disconnected. Gotta put a little cover back on there where you connected your update tool. Just keeps those pins protected. Now we can put the power back on. And we'll wait for this thing to boot up. Go down here, I'll show you the DC voltage we're dealing with. So we are already up to 344 volts DC. This thing's booting back up. Everything's going to kind of go through a test, and then I'm going to go inside and turn the thermostat back on, and I'll show you how to do that reversing valve test when I get back. Give me about a minute. Alright guys, we're back out here. I've got the thermostats calling for both zones. It's running. Right now it's in oil return mode, and it's just one of the self-maintenance modes that this thing will run in. Try to make sure it gets all the oil back out to the compressor where it needs to be. Do a system oil return, compressor lube, that kind of thing. So I'm going to show you real quick how you do that test for that reversing valve. If you want to see, make sure the drive, if you've ever been outside next to one of these when it starts up, you go to cycle the thermostat on, it's in delay, you come outside, right when it starts up, the first thing you always hear is a click. That's this thing telling that reversing valve which position to go to. Then it comes on and starts running. And it does that every time it gets a call from the thermostat. So it does not stay in a fixed position. It gets a call every individual time this system calls for operations. But to test that, what you're going to do is come in here. And I don't think I need the needle probes for this. Let me put them on anyway. I might need them. That is a little tight in there. But I can remember where I put them. Hold on a minute. Yeah, I moved some things around in my bag. I moved my alligator plungers to another location so I could stick my needle probes where I had those located at. But anyway, pop these needle probes in real quick on the meter leads, and this blue and red right here, that's your reversing valve. Wires is red and blue. So I'm going to stick a probe in one, if it'll stay. And I'll stick the probe in the other. Hopefully I've got good contact there. We'll find out in a minute. So we'll go into the controls menu on the CDA. Monitor menu, go over to controls, it's configuration controls, run your drive test from there, and I don't know how well you can see this. Drive test from there, then you can do an outdoor fan test, and then a forced defrost when you're running in heat for your defrost test. Now your EEV test, open and close. Now your latching switchover test, which is your valve, switchover valve. Right now it's running in cooling. So I'm going to push the button and run that test, and you should see a quick pulse. When the test starts, it'll go to heating. So we got a 4-volt when it switched to heating. Now it's going to switch back to cooling in a couple of seconds. We're back in cooling. Now when you run that drive, it says test complete. If you're in heating mode and you drive that test and it switches to cooling, you'll get an 11-volt DC signal. And I may try that again because I think I should still get it. Let me put the leads back in there one more time. I mean, it switched back to cooling. The pipe's getting cold. My pressures are reflecting. Let me get the probes in maybe in a tighter spot. We'll try that one more time. We'll switch it. Just running the test. We'll get the 4-volt pulse for heat. And it'll ramp everything down a little bit. There's our 4 volts. It should give us 11. If it doesn't give us 11, it's not switching. Let's see what happens. There we go. There was our 11 volts DC. So we know the drive is giving us the right call for each mode. The valve is shifting. We're back in cooling mode now. And that's kind of how you'll test that, to see if the drive is sending the voltage. If the drive's not sending that voltage, you got a problem in your drive. If it's sending the voltage for your heating, your cooling change, 9 times out of 10, at least 100% with my experience so far, every time this has been a problem, it's been this solenoid right here on this thing. So if you ever have one of these things and it's sticking in a mode of operation, you got it set for cooling, and that's what was happening. It was random. It would run in, she was running heat at the time, not cooling, and it would run heat, and then one time the unit would come on and it just would stay in heat. This thing wasn't responding properly to that call to switch that valve. So another thing, we chalk up to technology. But yeah, if you're ever having a problem with one of these sticking in a mode, the heat pump version of this unit, it's probably going to be your first bet. Anytime you can get an opportunity to update the software on your drive, you need to do it, especially with your older models. But I've never found that to be a solution for this problem. It's just something we do when we come out to these for an issue, is go ahead and get them updated and make sure that's not a problem. But it's going to be your culprit. So anyway, guys, that was just a video. Wasn't a quick one, unfortunately. I tried to make it quicker on how you update the drive in these units, what you need to update it. This little tool that you saw, you can't get these anymore. Whether you can find one on Amazon or something, I'd be skeptical about that. You may find one that somebody has and they're selling it. You take a chance on whether it's good or not. You obviously saw the part number. If you do get one from somebody somehow, first thing you want to do is get that thing updated. So get with Trane, get on Comfort site, get the software downloaded to it, get the most recent update for it. And but I would be skeptical about that. But you can't get these from Trane. So if you have one already and you're a Trane dealer, do not lose it, because it's a lot easier to do it with this than it is bringing that laptop down here and having to download and all that crap. So, all right, guys, appreciate you watching. Down in the bottom right hand corner, you want to like hit the thumbs up at the bottom, but subscribe is down in the bottom right hand corner. I appreciate it. And oh yeah, I put up a short while ago, a snake and a crawl space I found this morning. You might like that one. Anyway, have a good day, guys.